Welcome to the Roundup. I'm your host, Dan. Thanks for joining us for our second episode. We're going to jump into our second story of financial questions and feedback. So let's dive in. Tips for repaying somewhat small debt on small income. Hey friends, first time poster, long time lurker, part of the generational poverty bunch. Thanks for having me. First of all, I really like the attitude of this person. We all like to think we're rich. Most of us are living on a budget, and this is just someone being real. If I'm being honest, I've never truthfully budgeted before, but I would like to take control of my life and income. I'm sick of being poor, and I'd like to someday be less poor, even not at all. Honesty. Graduated in 2021 with a BA in theater arts, and I've been fortunate enough to take on what I think is minimal student debt, but needless to say, I would like to find the best options for paying them away. It's my New Year's resolution. So let's dive into the numbers. Here you'll see a breakdown of their student loans. I'm not going to go over every single detail, but I have $16,577 in student loans in a mix of subsidized and unsubsidized loans. Subsidized loans, the government will cover any accumulating interest or interest costs while you're in school or if you're in deferment. Unsubsidized, they don't do that. So if you have an unsubsidized loan, you're paying interest throughout school. You're paying interest if you defer any payments throughout your repayment period. Usually most people will see a mix of this, but it's good to understand what you should focus on when it comes to repaying these. So let's continue into the rest of the story because it's pretty interesting. In addition to these, I have about $241 on a credit card. Will be paid in full by the end of the month. Good job. Capital One Quicksilver card just opened, no fees as of yet, and $2,021 through Sunbit for dental, which I pay $247 monthly for the next 10 months, $2,021 left. All in all, my debts are $18,700, and he forgot to add his vehicle costs I own on my vehicle. So far, I don't think High Narrator is in that tough of a situation. His debt is definitely lower than the national average and in a much better position than most people. So it seems manageable so far. In terms of the dental loan, stuff happens. You need to fix yourself. You need to take care of your teeth. I get that. And hopefully it's a low interest, if not interest-free loan. But things like that occur. And it's good to be able to have the opportunity to borrow money for that just so you can have healthy teeth and a healthy lifestyle. Let's continue. I primarily work freelance at this point in my career. My hourly wage can fluctuate between $20 to $30, upwards to $300 per day. Last year, my income was $36,000. I am currently working at an AV company as an employee. My hourly is $20 an hour. I'm picking up a few extra freelance gigs here and there, but nothing solid I can count on yet. Currently in a down season for the next few weeks, I can expect work to pick up after January. So High Narrator is currently making about $36,000 a year. $36,000 a year is about $3,000 a month in gross income. If we consider taxes, I would say it's about a $2,100 a month take home, give or take 30% of that total gross income. As we continue, currently living and working in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, rent and utilities are rather high. Rent and utilities are split, and I can expect to pay about $1,200 a month any given month. This includes my Sunbit Dental. I'll admit, I need to keep track of creating a grocery budget and a Mary Jane budget, but my bare bones bills are typically within that range. I've been looking into the snowball method for payment on debts, and I feel like if I implement that strategy with an envelope method, I will be successful? What are some other useful tips and tricks, methods, or even financial YouTubers, blogs, Redditors who have done it themselves? Hi, narrator. I hope you're watching our episode because I'm going to walk through your specific scenario and give you my opinion based off of helping several people pay off their debt and helping my own self pay off my own debt. So I have some experience here. And to finish it off, I don't want to be poor anymore. But if I have to be poor for a while to not be poor for the rest of my life, that's something I'm willing to do. Cheers, bros. So let's dive into High Narrator's expenses here. After reading his awesome story and him being very truthful about where he sits and what he wants to accomplish for 2024. First of all, his budget was probably the most concerning. He wants to get a better picture around that. So my first recommendation there is to go into your online banking and try to pull a CSV file. It should be available for most online banking accounts. So you can pull an Excel file of just all of your transactions so you can do the math easily on your laptop and take care of all that. So if we break things down, so High Narrator makes about $3,000 a month minus taxes. I would say he probably takes home about $2,100 a month. That might be variable, but based off of the information, I'm going to deduct taxes from that gross amount. After paying $247 for his dental expense, about $950 for his rental, and about $165 for his student loans. I weighted the average interest rate among his debt around 10 years, give or take a few dollars. High Narrator spends about $1,362. So he has about $740 left in his budget, which isn't much. So including groceries and his Mary Jane budget, those are things you want to consider and really look at to understand what are those expenses. Where can you save? Also, some of the freelance work he's accomplishing. This is my second recommendation, is maybe find a side gig that is either within your profession or even outside of your profession to earn a few extra bucks to increase this income so you can pay that debt off faster. So other than that, I don't have really any negative feedback around High Narrator. He's in a fairly decent position compared to so many other stories we've looked at. To answer some of High Narrator's questions and concerns, my first recommendation that I would take is definitely build a budget. Figuring out those average expenses. The second step I would take is, obviously after he pays his $241, which he mentioned he's going to pay off in a month, is build an emergency fund. With $740 left every month, you're probably going to be cutting it really close, just based on the average food costs of an individual, gas for your car, depending on how you commute to work and whatnot. You will be cutting it close. So setting a budget will deter you from utilizing that credit card that you just opened up to put you in a tougher situation. My first goal, start off with $1,000. If you feel comfortable, the interest rates on your student loans aren't that high. So, in the balance that you have with your dental bill, hopefully that's at 0%. Build at least 6 months worth of an emergency fund, just in case you lose some side gigs, you lose your job. There's a slow season in the industry you're working with. That'll definitely set you apart and put you in a better financial position in the long run. Next is tackling the dental bill. Paying that off as aggressively as possible. Let's just say adding an additional $200 a month to that bill will help you cut that payment in half. And then you're done. It looks like you'll be done in 10 months. Maybe you can cut that in 6 months by paying those additional payments. Last but not least is approaching the student loan debt. In this case, if you've tackled your dental bill, I would definitely try to achieve an emergency fund so you have all of that additional savings that you don't have to worry about anything. But then, like you just mentioned, the snowball method. I would specifically focus not on the subsidized versus unsubsidized loans, but it seems like the lowest balance loans are unsubsidized already. So starting off with the $1,400 loan, the $1,700 loan, the $3,300 loan, and so on and so forth. If we can set a emergency fund that gives you 6 months of cushion, that'll give you more opportunity to add additional funds towards paying off that debt. So here we'll do some calculations based off of paying an additional $200 a month towards that debt. So let's break down the repayment on high narrator's loans. From the information we have, he has $16,577 owed. I'm going to make a few assumptions here based off of the information he provided. But being that he graduated in 2021, repayments probably resuming for him. He probably hasn't made any additional payments throughout the payment pause, as millions of Americans haven't. Actually, less than 10% of people actually made payments during that pause. But that being said, let's assume he's restarting repayment now as payments resume for 2024 or late 2023 and into 2024 for some borrowers. So if we assume the $16,577 as the original balance on a 10-year standard repayment plan, his monthly minimum payment is around $165 a month. Now, once we build that emergency fund and he continues to make payments, if he can apply an additional $200 out of his monthly budget towards his loan, he can save 5 years and 11 months. It's almost 6 years sooner that he can repay that debt. And my only one suggestion here is automating that process. So automating those savings to apply towards that loan, so it's consistently coming out of your account and applying it towards your debt, making it almost a thoughtless process to get you ahead of the game. Now, in this case, in a little over 4 years, you'll be student loan debt free, maybe even sooner as your income increases. Let's assume that you got a bachelor's degree, you have a job, you're finding additional side gigs, you're bound to increase your income over time. So pay off that debt in 4 years, be debt free in 4 years by applying an additional $200 towards your debt. If we change it to $100, let's say just the budget gets tighter, he'll still save, or high narrator will still save 4 years in 2 months. So that additional payment makes a significant impact on the balance and significant cost reductions. Now, if we look at high narrator's total interest costs, if he works with his normal scheduled payments, he's bound to pay $19,773. If he applies that additional $100 in payments, he only pays $18,394, which is almost $1,400 in savings. If we go to $200 additional per month, that increases to over $1,900 in interest costs and years off of his loan repayment, being debt-free that much sooner. Guys, thanks for watching the Roundup. I'm your host, Dan. I hope you enjoyed this and got a little bit of insight. I'm looking forward to making more episodes.